Oshkosh Today, your connection to events and organizations in the Oshkosh area.
Although the snow may still be falling, we're gearing up for spring here on Oshkosh Today. You'll have plenty to look forward to with some great seasonal events coming up on today's show. The Oshkosh Area Community Band will be putting on the annual spring concert, a highly anticipated and enjoyable performance every year. The Payne Art Center will be filled with beautiful floral arrangements and tablescapes for the Rooms of Blooms display. UWO Theater is preparing for another big performance called Clybourne Park as part of their season's theme, Our American Lives. Everyone's looking forward to the Miss Oshkosh pageant and will hear all about how it works and who it supports. We'll get to know the second Friends of OCM Student Athlete of the Year scholarship finalist, Angela Moore. We'll wrap up the show with a segment of Focus on Health with our friends at Aurora Healthcare, focusing on e-cigarettes.
Oshkosh Today. Oshkosh Today is supported in part by the Friends of OCM and Aurora Healthcare, 855 Northwest Haven Drive. Set design provided by House of Flowers, 1920 Algoma Boulevard.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on Oshkosh Today, your source for all of the great, awesome local organizations and events in your city of Oshkosh. I'm your host, Emily Mikowski, and we have a wonderful show lined up for you today. We're going to go ahead and dive right into our very first guest of the show today. I have Marshall Potter here from the Oshkosh Area Community Band here to tell us all about an upcoming concert. So Marshall, first of all, thank you for joining us and welcome.
My pleasure. Thank you, Emily, for inviting me. Thank you.
It's always great to have the Oshkosh Area Community Band in to tell us about their current projects and things that they have coming up. And you're here to tell us all about the spring concert. So maybe first you could just give us the date, time, location.
Okay, the date of our concert is March 19th, and it's going to be at the Alberta Kimball Auditorium at the Oshkosh West High School, and it starts at 7 p.m., and don't forget, it's completely free.
Yes, and that's one of the biggest draws, I think. Yes. It's an awesome, fun evening out, and it's so affordable. There's no cost associated with it at all, really.
It's free. We do accept donations for further music that we'll need in the future, but the concert is free.
Yes, and you always do a great job. A lot of people look forward to the spring concert every year. Maybe you can give us a little bit of a preview. It's kind of broken up into two halves. Maybe give us a little preview of the first half, what we can expect.
Well, our first half is going to open with our Dixieland group. During the summer, our concerts, we kind of did a prelude to each concert by having the Dixieland group go out and do a couple numbers, and we were so well received. Everyone said, why is that not part of your concert? So at our spring concert, the Dixieland group will be opening the concert itself. And by the way, the name of our Dixieland group we are named after a current Green Bay Packer. We're called the Clinton Dix E-Land Band.
I like the name of that band.
Yes.
Awesome.
So that's named after number 21, our safety. So we're very proud about that.
Very cool. Anything else that we can expect? I mean, any certain songs that we might be hearing during the first half from our Dixieland?
We kind of delved back to trying to keep very much the Dixieland style. So we're going to be doing something like Hello Dolly, and we're going to be doing Alice Blue Gown, a Dixieland edition, a version of it. And we're also going to do a little boogie in there, too.
Very nice.
It's going to be very good.
A nice little variety for the first half
Great
of the
variety.
concert.
We try and offer as much as we can.
Definitely. Maybe we can talk about the second half a little bit.
Sure.
What are we expecting to hear in the second half? What groups are going to be playing?
Well, the second half groups, the stage band will be performing. The stage band will perform Boogie Express, which is kind of a 1940s train song. Then we'll go on to the Nearest to You, and that features John Baston on flugelhorn. Very, very well done. And then a Count Basie hit called Hay Burner. So it's a variety, and it features all the different sounds that the stage band can do.
Okay. Is there anything behind that variety? I mean, it must be a really hard job to choose those songs. So do you just try to do a little bit of everything?
We try and do a little bit of everything. We do a lot of reading about a lot of different music and say, oh, this one kind of fits, this one reminds us, the people would really enjoy hearing this again. And so that's how we try and use the variety.
Yes, and we're hearing a little bit in the background here of some of your previous work that we've gotten on tape, and it's just such a cool experience, I have to say, to come out to those concerts, just to make a night out of it and support your local community band. Are there certain songs that might be your favorite that you're looking forward to?
Well, one of then after the stage band is done, then the whole band will come out and play. We're going to do some numbers like When You Wish Upon a Star from the Disney Pinocchio.
Oh, I love that song.
Yes, and we have another number called Caribbean Rondo, which is a fun-filled, sunny medley of Caribbean folk songs, including Mango Walk, Tingaleo, and also Marianne down by the seashore.
Very
Yes.
nice. Oh, you're not going to leave that on the rest of the
No, I'm not going to
interview?
leave that on. Okay. But if you want to know how we're going to open the concert, it's a band classic number called Procession of the Nobles.
Procession of the
Procession
Nobles.
of the Nobles, yes.
Very nice.
It's very well done and features a lot of the different sounds the band has, and it's very regal. It's very regal.
Oh, really?
So you'll enjoy that. You'll enjoy
Wow.
that.
Well, what a fun variety of songs. It sounds like there's a lot to look forward to, and it has got to be impossible to get bored.
Yeah, you can't. You
Yeah.
can't. You can't.
Yeah. Any other little tidbits that you want to give for the concert?
Well, I think that by having the stage band included, and also the Dixieland band, and the variety of all the numbers that we do, plus the concert. That's one thing about having Terry Hathaway. He does such a good job. You know, everybody thinks, oh gosh, community band. If you hear the word band, it's all going to be marches, marches, and marches. And people in Oshkosh were, okay, you do a concert of that, but you get very sick of it. And like I said, we're blessed to have Terry there because he incorporates the other music. We'll do everything from very serious classical music to a lot of pop music, and so it's very enjoyable.
Very recognizable songs.
Very
a lot of
recognizable,
times.
yes.
Yes. Marshall, you play percussion and keyboard. Give us a little bit of background about how you became involved in the band and a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I became involved in the band probably quite a few years ago. For stage band, they needed somebody to play piano. So when I'm a Carroll College graduate, and when I went to Carroll College, I became a double major. I was music and business because I wanted to open my own music store. So I learned how to play a little bit on all the instruments so I could sell you something. But piano was my major instrument, and so I continued playing piano and organ. I'm also an organist. I was up here in Oshkosh before I left for college, and then after. And now, right at this point, I'm a music director of Most Blessed Sacrament Parish here, which is St. Mary's and St. Peter's. Here in town, I do the choirs, I do the cantors, and we also have a handbell choir. And so then I've been helping Terry with the stage band and the Dixieland band because I've done Dixieland music before, and it's a lot of fun. And one time they were short a percussionist because the Dixieland and the stage band do not rehearse until the regular band concert is over. So it's like 8:30 at night. So I got there a little early, and they said, hey, we could use somebody up here. So I went and played a little percussion, and that's how I became more involved with the stage band itself. So they were putting me on like bells, and all of a sudden it's so different. If you have a keyboard here, it's very easy because you play the notes what you're supposed to, and all of a sudden you have bells, you have these mallets. So it's a little more difficult for myself to play, but it works.
Oh,
it works
yeah.
really well. It works
Wow.
really well.
And the rest is history after
Rest
the
is
one
history.
favor
Rest
you
is-
did, and you're
yes.
stuck with them
Just
now.
became a part of the family. It was great.
Wonderful. And the Oshkosh Area Community Band is open to anyone who is out of high school. Any musicians that are interested are able to inquire about joining the band,
Yes,
correct?
it's for post-high school musicians. However, during the summer, high school students who will be juniors or seniors in the fall are encouraged to join us. Practices are always at Oshkosh West Band Room, and Monday from 7 until 8:30 p.m.
Wonderful. And so it's a great opportunity if you played during high school and you graduate, you want to keep playing, or even those people who haven't played in a while and want to start picking
You
it
never
back
forget.
up.
You never forget how to do it.
Yes.
You never forget how to do it.
Yes. And we can find more information about the Oshkosh Area Community Band at oacb.org, I believe it is. Yes. And then you also have a Facebook page, which is always given all these updates. Maybe one more time, Marshall, you can just recap for us the date, time, and location of the spring concert.
Our concert is March 19th. We will be at the Alberta Kimball Auditorium at Oshkosh West, starting at 7 o'clock, and once again, admission is free.
Yes, and we're very much looking forward to it, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you up there on stage, Marshall.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for for coming in today and letting us have you, and we look forward to having you in again soon.
Thank you very much, Emily.
We're going to take a quick break here on Oshkosh Today. When we return, we will hear all about the Payne's upcoming Rooms and Blooms display. We'll be right back.
Want to know what it would be like to be a dinosaur? Be the Dinosaur is a groundbreaking fusion of state-of-the-art video game technology and traditional exhibits, featuring full-size dinosaur bones, a paleontology field station, a safari jeep, and more. Visitors of all ages can enter into the largest and most complex restoration of an extinct ecosystem ever created. Be the Dinosaur will be put on by the Oshkosh Public Museum from February 1st through May 16th, 2016. For more information, check out oshkoshmuseum.org.
If you have expired or unused medication, don't flush it, pour it down the drain, or toss it in the trash. Safely dispose of unwanted or expired medications at the drug drop box located inside the Oshkosh Police Department. It's convenient and anonymous, safe and secure, and it's open to everyone 24/7. Drop off your prescriptions, over-the-counter drugs, pet meds, and more. Keep drugs out of the reach of children and out of our water supply. Dispose of unwanted or expired medications at the drug drop box. For more information, visit the Oshkosh Police Department website at oshkoshpd.com.
Welcome back to Oshkosh Today. Thanks again for joining us. Now we have our friends from the Payne Art Center here to tell us all about the upcoming exhibit of Rooms and Blooms. So I have Kelly Marsachek here, our good friend from the Payne. Thanks so much for coming in today, Kelly.
Thanks for having us here.
Yes, and it's always great to hear about things happening at the Payne. You guys are very busy over there, and it always seems like you've got a new exhibit or a display coming in. This one's really cool, and I think a lot of people are excited for it because it's a big opportunity, and it's not a very long opportunity like a regular exhibit. It's the Rooms of Blooms. Maybe you can first explain to us what exactly is Rooms of Blooms.
Rooms of Blooms is where we transform the Payne Mansion into just a very florally bursting full of energy place. So we have hundreds of floral arrangements that come in, and floral designers use different elements as their inspiration. We can talk about that in a minute. But it just fills the mansion with florals that people are really ready for this time of year.
Oh yeah, we're ready for it during this time of year. So you said the whole Payne's going to be full of beautiful floral arrangements. When is this going on, and how long are we able to view it? Because obviously those floral arrangements aren't going to last forever.
That's right, and because it's fresh florals, we do it on weekends. The first 2 weekends in March, and weekend is used loosely as it's Thursday through Sunday.
Okay.
But that gives enough time for great flowers before they start to wilt on us, and then they're refreshed the second weekend. So the first 2 weekends in March.
Okay, so if you go to the second weekend, you don't have to worry about them being 2 weeks old or anything like that.
You do not. No, we bring in fresh flowers.
Perfect. And you mentioned that it's all kinds of floral artists and professionals. Who is all involved in this?
Yes, there's many designers, dozens of designers that come in from around the Fox Valley, the greater Fox Valley area, from down to Plymouth all the way up to the Green Bay area and everywhere in between. And so they're some of the best in their areas. And we're really happy to have them with us.
Yes, and it's a really cool way to kind of check out what's available too within the area. I think one of the people that is involved is our set designer, House of Flowers, and so it's kind of cool to see what they're capable of as well. And just, I think it's a chance for them to kind of go crazy and get really creative and just wow their guests.
And that's exactly what everyone that participates does. And as you said, House of Flowers, they've been with us since the beginning, as have many others. This will be our 6th time putting the show on. And it's interesting, if you can remember back to what they do each year, how they change it up and do it differently, and how it is presented so differently than even just the last time. And it's really fun to see the change.
And the trends too, because I think the trends change so quickly in floral design and design in general.
That's right. And these are the experts that follow that so closely. So you're really seeing some great trends happening.
Definitely. So what are some of the highlights of the show? If we're going, what are some things that we definitely don't want to miss?
Sure. Yeah, there's many components to this show. It starts out in the main gallery. And so we have an exhibition on view. And the exhibition has several artworks by Joy Moon and watercolor arts. And so we pair a florist with the artworks, and they use that as their inspiration to come up with a floral bouquet or arrangement. And somewhat over the top, different ideas that you're not necessarily used to. And then from there, we move throughout the home of the mansion. So many of the historic interiors get transformed with a florist will be paired with a room.
Okay.
And so they will do an installation in the room and just kind of decorate around and how that room made them feel, and that inspiration goes into the floral arrangements in that way. And then the final, or one of the final rooms is the Great Hall. And so we provide 7 just blank plastic tables, and then designer is each given a table.
Okay.
And they just create above and beyond what you can imagine a table setting for a dinner party or whatever, and kind of sometimes very whimsical and different things. And so they do that in that room, and so there's 7 different table settings that people get to see in there.
Very cool. So there's a wide variety of things that people can see.
Yes.
And I think the table settings are so cool. I've seen pictures of them, and that's the chance that those florists really get to shine, because that's what they like to do.
Right.
So.
And that's the one part where they're not necessarily inspired by anything in the mansion. So it gets the variety really changes from table to table, and it's just fun to see the different things they come up with. And probably sometimes not necessarily, they go above and beyond of what you do at a wedding or anything like that. So it's just even so much grander.
Yes. And sometimes a little bit competitive, I can imagine, because the visitors do have the option of telling which one is their favorite.
That's right. In that room on those 7 tables, visitors are able to vote on their favorites, and then 1 or 2 lucky winners will be drawn, and they will get a gift certificate if they win to the winner's shop.
All the more reason to tell us what your favorite one is, right?
That's right.
And this is in the Great Hall where this is going to be taking place, but you are expanding into the conservatory as well.
That's right. We have our newer conservatory on the property now, and we definitely utilize that during Rooms of Blooms. And it starts with a very large-scale installation that our horticulturist puts on. We've done it 2 other times now, so this will be the 3rd time, and that's really not to be missed.
Very cool. And I think there was like a brunch option that you had that you're going to be having an opportunity for people.
Yes, both Saturday mornings of the show, we are offering a brunch that you do need a reservation for. And so those are the Saturday mornings in the conservatory.
Okay, what a cool experience,
Yes.
especially in this time of year. And I mean, hopefully by the time that Rooms and Blooms is happening, the snow will be a little bit melted, but a really cool opportunity to get a little taste of spring. Yeah. And you mentioned the tie to the Joyce Moon watercolor exhibit, so that's really neat that they're inspired by that to do little different pieces too. Maybe you can tell us the dates and times again once more for us.
Sure. It's the first 2 weekends in March, so that is Thursday through Sunday, March 3rd through 6th, and then again March 10th through the 13th.
Wonderful. And you can find ticket prices and everything on the Payne's website.
That's right, yes.
And that is
At
thepayne.org.
thepayne.org, that's right.
That's
yes.
easy to remember.
Yeah.
Any other sneak peeks of what the Payne is up to for the rest of the year?
Yes, so we do have the Joy Moon watercolors, and Joy Moon is actually a very well-known watercolor artist. The artworks in the show are very vibrant depictions that she has of nature or her travel. She's very well traveled. She finds beauty all over in life in general. And but interestingly enough, she's also an Oshkosh native, so a wonderful asset to our community. And so it's wonderful to just take a look at that as well. And then beyond that, we have John James Audubon's Birds of America coming this summer, and that'll open in May.
Wonderful. Well, you've got a lot of great things coming up, and even into the beginning of summer and into the summer, I'm sure, too. So we can find all those details on the Payne's website at thepayne.org. And We're really looking forward to Rooms of Balloons. We can't wait to get out there.
Okay, thank you.
So thanks so much, Kelly, for joining us. Up next on Oshkosh Today, our friends at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh Theater Department are up to it again with their upcoming production, Clybourne Park. We'll hear all about it right after this break.
It's not a charity, it's more than a charity. It's about helping people we live with. It's about being the type of person that the 6-year-old version of ourselves wanted us to be. It's about community and looking out for one another. It's about money, yes, but it's so much more than money. It's about friendship and common values. It's about opening doors when others are slammed shut. It's about giving kids a place to be kids and growing up knowing they live in a community that cares about them. It's about making sure that everyone gets to see the dentist, because we want to make sure that they have every last tooth in those smiles. Ultimately, that's it. It's about the smiles, old smiles and new smiles. It's about us, all of us, our community living united, because great things happen when we live united. Will you join us?
Welcome back to Oshkosh Today. Thanks again for joining us. Now we have our friends from UWO Theater here to tell us all about their latest production, and we're really excited to hear about it. So I'd like to introduce Jane Purse-Wiedenhoft here to tell us all about the latest production. So Jane, first of all, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
So tell us, what is the latest show that you guys are preparing for?
Well, it's called Clybourne Park, and I am the director. It is about a family who lives in a house in 1959. Actually, let me back up a little bit. The playwright, Bruce Norris, is actually someone who was inspired by the play and the movie of A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry.
Yes.
And he took some of the ideas from that play and wrote a new play. And in Clybourne Park, we are in the house that the African American family is buying in a white neighborhood in the A Raisin in the Sun story.
Okay.
And so we see the white family in that house who is moving out, and how the neighbors are all reacting to a black family moving in.
Wow.
And it's 1959, so there are all sorts of things about race relations, about gentrification, where neighborhoods change ethnicity, and so it's sort of interesting because of the time period, because of the 1959 time period. Mm-hmm. Act 2 is 50 years later. Act 2 is 2009. We have an African American president. Things have changed. Hopefully things are better. Maybe people get along better. And what has happened now is the neighborhood over all these years is now more of an African American neighborhood, and now there's a white family that's buying the house, this same house, and moving into this neighborhood. So you look at some of the same issues in two very different time periods.
Wow.
And the same actors play roles in both acts. So they're not playing the same characters, 50 years difference, but they're playing a character that somehow is related to or has a connection to the character they played in Act 1.
Wow. And that's a challenge
and
as
it's
an actor.
It's a huge challenge, yes.
Yeah.
But a fun challenge.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it sounds like such an interesting play to kind of see how the roles have been reversed a little bit, and see the difference between those two time periods, even though it doesn't seem like it's that far apart time-wise, but how much things change.
Yeah.
And a very interesting relation to The Raisin in the Sun as well. Very cool. So what relevance does this have for today's audiences?
Well, the way we're approaching it is that idea that our past is always present and we can't just walk away from it. Mm-hmm. It's still there. whether it be your history, your culture, your gender. This production pushes all the buttons. And I should say before I forget that there is very mature language, there is some swearing, some adult issues, so I would say high school or older is probably the best as far as age group.
Good to know.
But all of the times that is being used in the play, it's for a reason, or you see why the person has been moved to that, or they're telling a very off-color joke, and that's the idea, that people are being offended by the joke in the play, or
it's meant to create
they're having
that discomfort
right,
there.
or people are like, well, that shouldn't offend you, but then someone else says, but that offends me, and so it's that thing of, well, there still are so many things that you have to be aware of, political correctness, but it's a comedy. I would call it a tragic comedy because there are many very serious moments in the play, and again, very serious issues. But it's still meant to be a comedy. And I even say in my director notes in the program that when I actually saw this on Broadway in 2012 when it won the Tony Award, and I was sitting in the audience and I was laughing hysterically, and then I would stop and I would sort of swallow and think, oh my goodness, that's terrible that I just laughed at that joke. Did I shouldn't have laughed at that joke. That's terrible.
Right.
But it's that sort of thing. Or the characters in the play make fun of their own race or their own identity. But it's just like every time you turn around, you find another button being pushed. So it's fun, but it's serious. It will bring a lot of discussion. I think people leaving the show will want to talk about a lot of things.
Well, I can imagine. I already want to talk about a lot of things. I haven't even seen the show yet. So it sounds very deep, but at the same time light and easy to
still
enjoy.
a great night of theater,
Right.
Enjoyable.
Right. And you'll be having post-show conversation, speaking of that.
Yes.
So what exactly
on two
is
nights.
that?
On our Friday and Saturday night performances, we will have that. Basically, we have a guest faculty member each night on Friday and Saturday who will sort of just lead a talk about an issue that's in the play, and sort of start that as a dialogue situation and talk with the audience. We used to call them talkbacks, but we realized some people thought of that as, well, why are you talking back at us? And so we've called it now a conversation, because it is something we just want to engage with the audience and talk about, what did they see, what questions do they have about the play. Which
has got to be interesting for both sides of the conversation. For an audience member, it's really interesting while that's all fresh in your mind and it's so organic coming out of, trying to work through these different things. And then as an actor and the director, it's really interesting to hear that feedback as well.
It is. Oh yeah, it's always great to have that exchange with audience members. Sure.
Wow. Well, what a cool play. I'm so excited to see it. Can you elaborate a little bit for potential audience members? Again, you mentioned the language and things like that. It's not something that you need to be afraid of for the program and the show, just maybe not under high school age.
Right. It's. I mean, again, if someone is extremely upset by swearing or something, that it's just something they're very, very against, then they probably shouldn't come see the show. But it is a lot of the language is it's either at a moment where it's an off-color joke being told, and the actors in the show, the characters actually sort of have a moment of, did you really just say that?
It's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they laugh or don't laugh, or they'll say, that's not even funny.
Sure.
Why did you tell that? Or the person you think might be offended by it. Say, for example, it's a joke that's maybe about African Americans, and then the African American couple, they're not offended by it, but then there's another element of the joke that makes the women in the room offended by it.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot. When and where can we see the show this year?
Well, it is in our Frederick March Theater on the UW Oshkosh campus. And we are performing Thursday through Saturday, February 18th through the 20th at 7:30 p.m. and Sunday the 21st at 2 p.m.
Okay, and we can get tickets online or at the box office?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
We have box office at uwosh.edu is the online way, and phone number is 920-424-4417.
Yes, and we can find all that information online at the UW Oshkosh Theater website.
Correct.
And then I think you do have a Facebook page as well, because you do have
Yes,
some
we do.
awesome updates and pictures of rehearsals and things like
Yes,
that going on.
we
so
do.
you can
Yes.
check all that out on Facebook. So it sounds like such an amazing show, Jane. We're all looking forward to it, and what a challenge for those actors in college. Very cool.
It is. They're enjoying it.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
Great.
thank you so much for coming in
Yeah,
today and
thank
telling
you,
us all
Emily.
about it. We hope to have you in again soon for your next show.
Great. I look forward to it.
Up next, we'll get a preview of the Miss Oshkosh Scholarship Pageant. We're going to take a quick break here on Oshkosh Today. We'll be right back.
Want to know what it would be like to be a dinosaur? Be the Dinosaur is a groundbreaking fusion of state-of-the-art video game technology and traditional exhibits, featuring full-size dinosaur bones, a paleontology field station, a safari jeep, and more. Visitors of all ages can enter into the largest and most complex restoration of an extinct ecosystem ever created. Be the Dinosaur will be put on by the Oshkosh Public Museum from February 1st through May 16th, 2016. For more information, check out oshkoshmuseum.org.
It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Respect is at the heart of civility, and it's a two-way street. If you want to get respect, you've got to show respect. So be the first to show it. Honor other people and their opinions, especially in the midst of a disagreement. Speak your piece and show respect. The Oshkosh Civility Project is a community-based effort. More information at oshkoshcivilityproject.org.
Welcome back to Oshkosh Today. Thanks again for joining us. Now we are joined by our friend Marilyn McCormick from the Miss Oshkosh Scholarship Pageant, here to tell us all about what we can expect at this year's event. So Marilyn, first of all, thanks so much for joining us today, and
Thank you.
welcome.
My
And
pleasure.
We have you're our stand-in Miss Oshkosh today, because oftentimes we
Right.
do have Miss Oshkosh come in, but she's very busy and she's at work right now, unfortunately, working
Exactly.
hard. So you'll be taking her place today, and we appreciate that.
I'll try.
So maybe first off, you can start out by telling us what exactly the Miss Oshkosh pageant is, what it consists of, for those of us who might not know.
Are you talking about the competitions?
Yes.
Yes. There are 4 competitions. It's just exactly as you see it on the Miss America stage. We are affiliated with Miss America, not Miss USA. So they start out by an interview, a 10-minute interview, and they are given like 30 seconds at the end of this interview to talk about their platform. Every girl has to choose a platform, which is different from the way it used to be, and that is why Mackenzie she works for the Carbone Cancer Center in Madison. She goes to school there, but she also works for the Cancer Center, so that is her program, cancer, breast cancer in particular.
Very
So she's
cool.
very involved in it.
And the platform is a great thing, because that's
It
kind of
is.
the essence of what they're
It
passionate
is-
about.
That is exactly what we tell them. If you pick something, make sure you are passionate about this. Then they, of course, go through swimsuit and fitness. And this is a very short, they're out there like very little time. And of course the talent, which can be no longer than 90 seconds.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, I
they've
didn't
cut
know
that
that.
down quite a bit.
Wow.
And also then the evening gown and the onstage question. These all have points to them.
Okay.
And that's what it consists of. At the end of the evening, the judges are given the top 5, and they put them they arrange them in the way they want them. Now this is not going to be done at Miss America this year, so by next year that will be thrown out again.
Oh, okay.
So they keep changing the rules on us.
It's always changing, always getting switched up.
Always change.
Yes.
And of course the pageant will be held on March 12th, 7:30. We always start our show then at the Alberta Kimball Auditorium at West High School.
Wonderful. Wow. Well, there's a lot involved in it.
A lot.
How many
Yes.
girls typically are in the pageant?
We always have between 10 and 12. This year we have chosen 10,
Okay.
and several of them are local girls.
Okay.
We have a very, very talented group this year. We're extremely happy. Our director's over the moon with them.
Oh, good.
So they're all very good, and they're working very hard. And of course, they're working for the scholarship.
Yes, and that was going to be my next question.
Okay.
This is a scholarship
Absolutely.
pageant. Explain how that works.
They get scholarship money. If you'll excuse me,
Not at
I'll
all.
read it off what they get. And this changes every year, but so far, the Miss Oshkosh pageant has been the highest in the state. We give over $12,000 off that stage.
Wow.
Miss Oshkosh alone gets $3,500. It's paid to her in semesters, and she has to prove that she is in school. It's not just a check isn't given to her. We pay the university that she's in, or the tech school. This is not just for university. If you want a
Exactly.
tech school, we will certainly pay for that, but you have to prove to us that you're in it. So, and the next ones, of course, they go accordingly. But one thing I'm proud of with our group is every girl that gets on that stage she gets $400 just for stepping on it.
Amazing.
So we are probably one of the few pageants left that do a full pageant.
Wow. Well,
Like
how
that.
cool is that?
I'm very proud of our group. And the group,
Yes.
of course, is the Oshkosh Area Women's Association. We used to be known as the Women's Division. We've changed our brand, so you will hear us as the Oshkosh Area Women's Association.
Yes.
It takes a while for me. It's been so many years.
Yes. Oh my
But,
gosh, it has been a few
I'm
years.
very excited about it. We're stepping off in a new direction.
Yes, and so the Oshkosh Area Women's Association is responsible for the Miss Oshkosh pageant, which a lot of
Exactly.
times people don't make that
For
connection.
52 years.
Yes, and so if we have time, we'll talk a little bit more about the Women's Association.
good.
Let's talk about Miss Oshkosh. This year's, or 2015's Miss Oshkosh, her name was Mackenzie Lund.
Mackenzie Lund.
How
a
did her
lovely
year
lady.
go?
Her year's gone wonderful. And if she were here, she'd tell you she doesn't want to give it up.
Oh,
But-
no.
But she will be graduating in May, and
Okay.
there's big decisions for her, too, at that time. And that's
Yes.
what we like to see. We like to see our girls move on.
And I know, speaking with multiple Miss Oshkoshes and Miss Wisconsins and everything, they never really leave. They're always connected, and
Yes.
they build such great
They are.
relationships.
They
and
are.
It's just wonderful to see.
I have to say what makes me proudest is when I have a girl from maybe 20 years ago, maybe not even a Miss Oshkosh, but a contestant, that comes up and tells me, I am so happy you taught me how to interview. She said, I actually got a job because of that. And then I know I'm doing my job right.
Oh, that's amazing.
Or we are, anyway.
Yes. So what kinds of things does Miss Oshkosh do throughout the year?
She does many things for her community, and it's not just ribbon cutting. Actually, these next couple of weeks, Mackenzie is usually back in town on Friday, and just one Friday she's going to Roosevelt School and she's reading in the morning to one class, and she's coming back in the afternoon and she's reading to another. That was her school, and she called them and asked if they would like her to do this. This, of course, is thrilling to any little girl or
my
little
gosh.
boy.
Yes, definitely.
You'd be surprised how many times they ask if they live in a castle.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, and you do see Miss Oshkosh around at a lot of events, parades.
But you can have her, if you are a club that wants her to speak, wants her to help you with an event, you can have her simply by calling me at 233-0222 or Gordy Lund at 231-2282.
Wonderful. So she's
So
a very busy girl.
She's very busy, but if you get to us, she's working right up until the very time she steps on that stage to give her crown up.
Yes, and she is very involved in the next pageant.
Extremely, yes.
Yeah, wonderful.
So we've been very, very happy with her.
So-
She's done everything we've asked.
Oh, that's awesome. And I think every year I get to meet Miss Oshkosh, and every year I'm always so impressed with what
These
a
young
great
women
girl.
are so accomplished. I am impressed.
So where can we find more information about the pageant?
There will be more in the paper, and we're hoping to get her onto your radio, as
Yes,
I mentioned.
we will be.
And she'll be on. She has a couple other radio spots coming up, and also the posters should be out next week.
Okay.
We've had a little bit of a time lapse because Gordy and I took this over. we were not aware of certain things, which we apologize for. But
not at all.
when
Yes.
you're doing it the first time yourself, you have to expect those. You know.
Yes. And the website as well, missoshkosh.com.
Yes.
Lots of great stuff on there. It also connects you to the Women's
Karen
Association
has that on,
page.
and it connects you to our association, yes, which we
So-
hope you'll join.
Yes, definitely. Always looking for new members?
Yes.
Okay.
Younger members.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of getting a little bit of a hint here from Marilyn today, so maybe I'll have to go look at
Yes,
some
Emily,
information
you
after
have
today.
to. We would love to have you.
Well, we are looking so much forward to the Miss Oshkosh pageant, and we thank
We
you
are
so much
too.
for coming in and telling
Thank
us
you.
all about it. We look forward to having Mackenzie in as well for her radio spot.
Oh, she
So,
will be, I
yeah.
promise.
Well, Marilyn, thanks so much again for coming in,
You're
and we look
welcome.
forward to having you again soon.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we will meet our second Student Athlete of the Year scholarship finalist. We'll be right back on Oshkosh Today.
How do you make a car run?
Put your hands on the steering wheel, push the pedal, and
Why do dogs bark?
I think he just wants to have fun. Dogs don't like thunder.
How can we address common health problems in Wisconsin?
I don't know.
When you don't know the answers, it's not a good idea to guess. The Survey of the Health of Wisconsin gathers information needed to make informed decisions on how to improve the lives of those in our state. Learn more today.
Thinking about dealing drugs in our county? Think again.
Welcome back to Oshkosh Today. Thanks again for joining us. Now we're joined by our final guests of the day. We have our student athlete finalist here for the Friends of OCM Student Athlete of the Year Scholarship Program, Angela Moore, assisted by her track coach, Tim Moore. So thank you both so much for stopping by today and chatting with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, it's great to have you, and some of our viewers might have noticed a little bit of a connection with your last names, and you guys are actually related. You are
he
a
is my dad.
father-daughter duo here today,
Yeah.
which is very exciting. And Angela, we're excited to have you in and get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah.
So first off, you're a senior at Lourdes Academy.
Yes.
You're very involved in a lot of different sports and activities and things. So maybe you can start out by just telling us a little bit about yourself. You are an athlete in it's cross country and track.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I have played so many sports ever since I was born. I played basketball, soccer, tennis, but I really had a passion for running and track and cross country. So once it came to high school, it was hard to kind of weed out the sports that I chose. But I did actually play tennis and basketball my freshman year, but then I decided to really focus on track and cross country, and those are definitely my two favorite sports and the most that I'm most passionate about.
Okay.
So yeah.
And so you kind of got interested in those sports once you got to high school, or have you been doing that all your life?
I've been doing that all my life because my
Okay.
dad and my mom were both runners, and they both competed at the college level, and he has won an NCAA team championship.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
So you've got some good runner's blood in your family.
Yeah.
We were joking before the show. A really bad pun was, "It runs in the family." I can't believe you guys probably have heard that one
really
before
does.
already.
Yeah,
But
it literally does. We breed running.
and so running's what you're really passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
What has made this something that you love so much? I know you said that it's been in your family, but what about running? You know,
I think just the relationships you build with other people and just kind of the team aspect. And I think, like especially this past year, I fractured my foot, so I couldn't compete at state my junior year. So I think really kind of focusing on others and focusing on the team and helping them kind of step into your shoes and help out the team in that way kind of is really inspirational, and it's something that you can just kind of live on forever rather than just in high school or in college.
Definitely. And I was going to ask you about that. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
How was that to deal
It
with?
it definitely was a downer, and I think just especially having it at regionals and having like almost grasping like a state title that close, it was really hard. But I think you just kind of have to step back and look on the positive side and kind of build from that, and really encourage others to follow in your footsteps.
Definitely. And Tim, as her coach, that must have been tough for you to see as well.
Yeah, it was her track season, her junior year at regionals. She was her second race. She runs the 4x8, and we won that. And then she was running the mile, and she crossed the finish line, and it was a wet, cold day, and struck her foot a little bit.
It's always on those kind of days.
Yeah.
It's spring in Wisconsin, so inevitably you get one of those. And she literally just decelerated across the finish line and hit her foot wrong, and it compromised her for the next season in cross country as well. So she wasn't able to compete. She was out from regional, so she couldn't compete in sectionals or state. And then the next cross country season for her senior year, she wasn't able to compete. But she did a great job. I mean, we're a program that is built as a program. It's not any one athlete. And Angela did an awesome job. Even though it's disappointing individually for her, she stepped up and helped empower those around her. And we compete at a high level at Lourdes in track and cross country. And her teammates won again state this year. They were favored to win with her, and they had to figure out and work hard to figure out how to do it without her. And they achieved that success with Angela's help. Just on the sidelines, cheering on.
And I took
on the mom as
I
the
was
team.
just going to say, I was going to mention that in your essay. You kind of earned the nickname of Team Mom.
Yeah,
which is
I was
cool.
always kind of there to bring the cookies and to really like encourage them and to kind of figure out their race plan and what was really effective for them. And I think even this past state title, that was probably one of my biggest accomplishments, and I didn't even run, and I think
that's so cool.
It was just awesome.
Yeah, and that's an important role to play. I mean, they wouldn't have been able to do that without you. That's an important part of it.
Yeah.
In your application, you mentioned that you're interested in dentistry.
Yes.
And you're actually already kind of getting your feet wet a little bit. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so 2 years ago, I started volunteering as a dental assistant at Father Carr's with Dr. Hammond, and I just kind of did it out on whim. Like, I didn't really think that they were going to actually put me like in a coat and like really help assist with the patients, but I did, and it was kind of intimidating at first a little bit, but I really enjoyed it, and it kind of like sparked my interest in the dental field. And that next summer I actually worked as a dental assistant with my dentist, Dr. Wilm, so that was so cool to just see everything in the dental field. And now I'm gonna go on to college and study pre-dentistry. So
very cool. What an awesome opportunity to kind of give it a little test drive before making that decision going to college. Very cool. So plans after college, are you thinking universities yet or anything?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go to the University of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I'm
so far away from your family.
I know, it is really far away, but I really like their pre-dentistry program. It's amazing there, and I'm also going to be on the cross-country and track team, and the coach is signing on a lot of new freshmen, so I'm excited to build the team and to build some new relationships. So
wow, so lots of big plans. And Tim, what has it been like being her coach throughout high school?
It's always special for a dad to be able to have time around their daughter, but to have the privilege to be around her as her coach as well in that element, and kind of guide her and provide some support to her as she kind of goes through things in the competitive environment. It's a blast. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Oh, so cool. Well, it's so great to have you guys in here today. We do have a certificate here for you as one of our finalists. It's an honor to have you as one of our finalists, and we are just impressed by everybody every year. So thank you so much for coming in today.
It's such an honor.
Yes, definitely. And any final words before we sign off here?
Well, I just want to thank you so much for nominating me, and
definitely.
Yeah, being a part of it. I think, this is, you and I almost are like neighbors now. We see each other.
Yes, we do. You guys are just cranking out some awesome kids at Lourdes.
But you do a great job. And OCAT, I mean, the program that you guys have in place with the foundation is excellent. It's just awesome.
Well, wonderful. Thank you guys for that, and best of luck to you after high school.
Thank you so much.
Now it's that time of the show. We're going to take a few minutes and focus on health with our friend Ted Stefaniak and our friends at Aurora Healthcare. This week we're taking a look at e-cigarettes. Take a look.
This Focus on Health segment is brought to you by Aurora Healthcare.
Hello and welcome to Focus on Health. I'm Ted Stefaniak. Today we're at the Aurora Medical Center in Oshkosh. We're heading over to pulmonology today. Now we're going to be speaking with pulmonologist Dr. Rob Geck. We're going to be talking about something that's become quite the fad, quite the trend, e-cigarettes and vaping. Just how harmful are they? Well, thank you for taking some time with us once again. Nice to see you. Today we're talking about e-cigarettes and vaping, and just if people are familiar with it, what are those things? What is an e-cigarette?
So an e-cigarette is a relatively newly developed method of administering nicotine. And so what it is a electronic device that heats up a chemical and puts into the air, into your, really kind of a vapor that contains dissolved nicotine. It's usually dissolved in what's called propylene glycol or a vegetable kind of oil type of a product to allow it to dissolve and get in.
And vaping would be the actual act of...
Yep, and that could be from another mechanism, but generally the e-cigarettes or the look-alike cigarettes are the most common form of delivering it.
Okay, so I guess when people talk about the e-cigarettes or you see people vaping, I guess the initial thought is this is more healthy for me or not as harmful for me as a cigarette. But are they harmful?
Well, there are some harmful effects, and the hardest part is that we just don't know them as well as we know cigarettes. So the idea behind them is that you've removed the burnt, tobacco leaves, and so there is some reduction in the number of hydrocarbons and other harmful known carcinogenic items. And ideally, it should just be a safe chemical, the propylene glycol, or and nicotine. Now, there should be relatively safe. Nicotine replacement products have been around for years, and we know that nicotine in lower doses is not necessarily harmful. So the idea is that this should not be as harmful as a cigarette itself.
Is there a chance there could be any benefit to an e-cigarette?
So the benefits to an e-cigarette, ideally, and the way they were developed was to replace the more harmful cigarette. Unfortunately, that hasn't necessarily panned out to be the case. And as we are looking at these closer, we are finding that there may be more additives in these things. And so it's not just nicotine and a solvent. It is flavor additives. There are all of other things being added to these things. And so rather than its intended purpose as being a alternative to smoking, it's actually become kind of a cool thing to do and is starting to pick up with different generations and the younger generation. And so in the absence of any known studies on these things in terms of harmfulness and efficacy in terms of even getting people to stop smoking, it may not be the way to go at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about different generations trying it. You see more and more kids thinking, kids like to try cigarettes or try something new. This might be something that kids get started with. Probably not a good thing for children to be trying.
And we've actually seen an increase in usage in the age group 18 to 25. Ideally not younger than 18 because they're not supposed to be sold to minors. However, there's a lot of buzz and talk about this, and the regulation on that is non-existent. There is no FDA control on what goes into them. There is no FDA control on any aspect of it. You can pick one up over the counter as long as you're older than 18 years old. And we have seen an increase in the usage of that. They're bubblegum flavored for a reason. Your 40-year-old, 50-year-old cigarette smoker is not picking them up for the bubblegum flavor. This is being actually targeted towards a younger generation for good reason, for marketing purposes, for money purposes. Unfortunately, there are conflicting studies that say that it might actually increase the use of traditional cigarettes, even in these younger individuals who are still prone to these, to peer pressure and other things like that.
Yeah. So probably not a good idea for children. What about adults? Even in a situation where you might be trying to quit smoking, traditional smoking, is it still all right to use an e-cigarette or try to wean yourself off on an e-cigarette?
In theory, yes, it would be better to wean yourself off on an e-cigarette. Again, we still don't know any hidden harms in there. And if you remember on traditional cigarettes, it took years to find out what they actually had in terms of harm. And so in the absence of true data on how helpful they are, or sorry, harmful they are, that it may be helpful. The idea is to wean yourself off. It should not be intended as, exactly. It should not be a replacement. It should be a method of gradually phasing it out of your system. Much the same way that we use the other nicotine replacement therapies. Nicotine gum, the patches, all of those other things are designed to gradually step down, not continue for forever.
Whether you're using e-cigarettes or traditional smoking or other uses, tobacco uses, what are some of the signs that we should be looking for that might indicate that there's an immediate problem?
Well, the hardest part is as an adult or as a parent, you need to look at it in your kids and see if they're using it. There's an increase in actually nicotine poisoning, and there have been a number of reports to the trips to the emergency department for children who have been poisoned from the nicotine and have issues with cardiac arrhythmias and other irritable problems. And so that is one thing to look for as a parent in your child if they're using it. Secondly, as an adult, the idea is to begin weaning yourself off. Obviously, like everything else, if you're beginning to have chest tightness and more trouble breathing while using them, then you're having a sensitivity to the product and you should switch to something that's not inhaled.
Yeah, and I would imagine, just like with traditional smoking, secondhand smoke is always a concern. That may be an issue as well, but again, still being studied.
Yeah.
When you start looking at these studies, how long might it be before we start seeing some hard data as to how harmful, not if it's harmful, but how harmful this e-cigarette trend might be?
It may take years. There are studies that are currently going on that suggest that it causes irritation and inflammation of the lungs in certain individuals, and those are subtle and not robust enough to say, hey, look, this is not something we should be doing. The ones that, like in tobacco smoke, they've taken years to find the development and the production of cancer. Now, when it comes to some of the flavor additives, we have good evidence now that some of these flavor additives, when inhaled, do cause significant lung reaction. In fact, there's even a diagnosis called popcorn lung, which the butter flavoring of popcorn, if exposed to in large quantities, not just from eating it, but in manufacturers, can cause significant lung disease. It has in the past.
A lot of research still to be done, and boy, I guess it's better just not to get started.
It's better not to get started. If you are a current traditional smoker and this is what you want to do, then use it appropriately and wean yourself off of.
All right. Well, thanks for taking some time with us today.
Sure.
Now, as Dr. Geck mentioned, it's best not to get started with traditional tobacco or e-cigarettes. If you're having some problems, some of those issues that Dr. Geck talked about, you should get in and see your primary care provider as soon as you can. If you have any other questions, you can give us a call here at Aurora at 303-8700. I'm Ted Stefaniak, and we'll see you next time on Focus on Health.
This Focus on Health segment has been brought to you by Aurora Healthcare.
Thanks, Ted. It looks like that's going to do it for this episode of Oshkosh Today. We'd like to thank you again for joining us. It's always great to have our viewers checking out our show. Make sure you tune in to CATV2 for all of your community programming. Search for Oshkosh Community Media Services on Facebook or on YouTube for exciting news and updates, as well as videos of some of your favorite programs. Make sure you follow City of Oshkosh on Twitter to receive down-to-the-minute updates about what's going on in your city. And you can also listen to Oshkosh Today and other programs on the radio at 101.9 WOCT, which is also streaming online and on the TuneIn Radio app for mobile devices. For more information about OCMS, programming schedules, and video on demand, visit our website, oshkoshcommunitymedia.org. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can email me at emackowski@ci.oshkosh.wi.us. As always, thanks so much for joining us on Oshkosh Today, and we'll see you next time.
Oshkosh Today was supported in part by the Friends of OCM. And Aurora Healthcare, 855 Northwest Haven Drive. Set design provided by House of Flowers, 1920 Algoma Boulevard. Oshkosh Today.